We're here with Dan Beckerman, CEO and President of AEG and Anderson alum of '96. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
So you graduated in '96 and now you're CEO of AEG. Take us through the steps along the way and what did you learn?
Well, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago that I was here. It seems like just yesterday. But I went to UCLA as an undergrad and then came back to Anderson and graduated in '96. And while I was doing Anderson full-time, I was interviewing around for different positions and different internships. And then after taking a banking internship after my first summer, decided maybe I want to try something a little bit different. And I figure graduate school, this is the right time. I'm in the market looking for a job, so maybe I'll try something different. I started approaching sports organizations. I loved sports growing up and at UCLA, great teams, always of course. And thought, wow, this would be a great chance. I was an accountant. I thought I'll try to do something a little bit different. So went to every sports team and every sports league around the country and got rejected by basically every one of them. And then I had one sort of little nibble, which I sort of aggressively pursued with the Clippers, actually right here in town. So they actually offered me a job to be the CFO of the Clippers, but I had to accept the job immediately and I was still in school, which was a little bit difficult. So I did it anyways. I took the job and I was going to school full-time and I was working for them full-time and had kind of a hellish year that last year. But at the time of my life, I was in my mid-20s and just had a blast. And then graduated from Anderson and was with the Clippers and probably would have stayed there for life. And then got approached about a position with the Kings and a vision to build a downtown arena and an entertainment complex. And even though I wasn't a hockey fan, I was a big basketball fan at the time, I thought, well, I'll take a chance. So it all kind of started from there. That was 1997. That was about 17 years ago. And started with them, and AEG was born right around that time, and the company's just grown since then. Was the CFO for a number of years, helped build the company, and then became the Chief Operating Officer about 6 or 7 years ago, and then about a year ago took over as CEO.
So you deal with a whole host of constituencies: bankers, city managers, venue operators, talent, actors, performers, singers. You deal with hockey players, basketball players, all kinds of people that are performing, outside performers contracted into the venue. Do you have to have an adaptive style of leadership to deal with all these different kinds of people, one size fits all?
You really need to be chameleon-like, I think, as you know, in your business as well. You sort of have to be all things to all people, which is really one of the things I love about the job. I love dealing with different kinds of people in the music business and the sports business and bankers and lawyers. I mean, that's kind of my background, having a financial background. So depending on what we're working on, and when you're telling your story and you're telling the story of the company, you really need to adapt to your audience, obviously, and who we're dealing with and our staff. And we have 30,000 employees. We have ushers, and then we have senior executives, and the management style is going to vary depending on who you're dealing with. But that's really what I love about the job. I like being hands-on. I love being out there, shaking hands, meeting every employee, meeting the staff. And I love dealing with the managers and the agents. The music business sometimes can be a little challenging. There's some interesting characters there. But it's different every day. It really is. And everybody's different, and you really need to adapt who you are depending on who you're dealing with in any given day.
Plus, you're a global organization, a very distributed global organization. You've got Brazilian and German and Chinese, British teams. How do you adapt your style in the complexity of the arenas that you run and the talent that you run around these global operations?
It's a unique balance, because on one hand, you have to be mindful and respectful of the local customs and the politics. But on the other hand, if we're there meeting with them, it must mean that there's something about us that they like. They've visited one of our entertainment campuses. I can't tell you how many times we'll have someone in from abroad, from India or from China, and they'll come to the O2 in London, or they'll come to the Staples Center in LA, and they'll say, this is what I want. I want something like this, and we get those visits, every week from somewhere around the world wanting to see what they are. So it's a balance. You want to adapt to the local customs, but you want to sort of impart your way as well, whether it's our design or our technology or our programming. So it's a fine balance, and we usually marry a local team or a local partner with what we have headquartered here in LA, and we create a team to create the right design, the right operation, the right marketing strategy, the right booking philosophy. So it's a combination of the two.
What are the attitude and aptitude characteristics you look for in leaders that are leading these different organizations, because you have leaders underneath you who are very important in their organization. So could you talk to that issue?
Well, we have a culture and a philosophy that is very hands-on. So we do the work. We roll our sleeves up and we do the work. So we're not always looking for the smartest people, but the people who get our culture, our philosophy, people who kind of roll their sleeves up. And you're right, we have so many different divisions. We need experts in every division. You know, people sometimes come and they say, "Oh, I really want to work in your company somewhere. What should I do?" And you really need to be a specialist. So whether it's in the music business or in the sports division or in our real estate development, we look for people who are sort of at the top of their class, people who've established themselves. So I think it's that combination of that work ethic, sort of a common philosophy, and someone who's really going to kind of roll up their sleeves and be part of a team. And that's the other part of it for us, is we have very much a team approach, because we do have a lot of central resources, and when we attack a project, we bring people in from every different discipline. So someone who works part of the team is critical also.
You've seen a trajectory of enormous growth in the AEG organization since you started. Do you think that there's a need for different leaders at different stages of the organization's growth?
I do. I think the nature of our company is we're always going to be entrepreneurial. Our owner is an oil baron and a real estate baron, so he's used to being a wildcatter. So we're always going to have growth, but we've evolved our company over time. We started with 30 employees when I started 17 years ago. Now we have 30,000 employees. We were in one city, and now we're on every continent. So I think we're always going to be entrepreneurial. We're always going to be growing. So we always need to have, that's part of our DNA, is we're going to be project-based, and we're always going to be looking for the next great opportunity. We're fortunate that he has capital to deploy, so we're always going to be investing, and we're always going to be doing that. Having said that, we went through hyper-growth for about a decade, and now I'd say we're going through more measured and selective growth. And we have a big operating base, which we didn't have before. When we were starting out, we were just fly by the seat of our pants. We had a team and maybe one building. Now we have over 100 buildings, and we have 13 teams, and we have multiple divisions in entertainment. So I'd say it's a combination which maybe does require a little bit different leadership, one that can combine sort of the operational oversight, but still have that mind of the future and what are the best strategic fits for us moving forward, and how do we continue that growth.
Are you still involved with media, through the actual making of media content? Is that still going to be part of your leadership strategy, or is that going to be more? You're going to be more in guest relations strategy? In other words, audience strategy. Which one happens to be?
I think it's both. We're definitely not a traditional media company, but we are in the music business.
Right.
We do have a television channel. We do have a distribution network of venues where we're always creating content and programming. So this week we have the Coachella Festival. It happened this past week, and it's going on this next week as well. We have a TV channel that we recently launched, or we're a partner in that channel. And this is the first year that we have Coachella that's going to be live on Access TV, which is our television. So we create sports content, we create music content, we have venues large and small, all the way from 500 seats up to 80,000 seats. So I think we're always going to have a media element to it, but the live business is really our core, whether it's sports or music. So that's always going to be fundamentally where our core business is on content and real estate.
AEG is a leader in many of its segments, and with its trajectory of growth, increasingly so. And yet the world of media with content is really changing by the minute. How do you avoid complacency or just resting on your laurels and avoid being overtaken by others in the industry?
It's a good question. I mean, when I think about our real estate business, we have great footholds in the best markets around the world. So in LA, in London, in Shanghai, in Berlin, we have these great districts which are always going to provide us a great core. But there's only so many of those we can build around the world. You know, we can't spend $1 billion at every city around the world, because not every city is really perfect for an entertainment district like that. So in other areas where we're branching out in technology and in digital and in ticketing, we're not the leaders, we're the challengers. So I think that kind of keeps us hungry and keeps us humble, and we're always looking for ways to grow that business where maybe we aren't the market leaders. And it's a new area for us. So it's a different kind of investment. We're investing in people, and we're investing in technology, and it's not just the brick and mortar that we have. So we've had to evolve our business because we have become large, and in that part of our business it's become mature. But again, to continue that growth, digital and technology is the future for us.
I have one question that always is in my mind, and that is, when you're managing multifaceted elements, is there a tendency to go to the big revenue producers? Is there just when you're so big, is there a tendency just to focus on things that really make the difference, as opposed to some things that are dalliance or a nice convenience or an opportunity? But those things, if they don't work, it doesn't work.
It's tempting.
Right.
It's very tempting. And when you're looking to grow your same-store sales, it's very tempting to look at what are my big producers? What are the most profitable venues? What are the most profitable teams? And how do we make those better? And sometimes you get your most bang for your buck there. But I think that's where having a vision and a 5-year plan where you can look at it and say, here's an area of our business that doesn't exist today, and it's a startup. You know, the facility management business we were talking about earlier was that, and we were never in that business. And we thought, you know, we can't own every facility in the world, but we can manage them. So how do we grow that? So the returns weren't as large at first, and we had to grow, and we had to invest in time and people. So I think if you are looking near term, there's an overwhelming temptation to look to your big providers. But our ownership is such that they have long-term vision. You know, he's a long-term player, so we think 5-10 years ahead, and that's what I think helps us focus on the lesser areas or the smaller areas or the emerging areas that may not be big today, but someday could be a separate division of our company.
So last question that we ask everyone, and I'll ask you about yourself. Do you think you were a born leader, or did you become one?
I don't think I was a born leader. I think I became one. And I think some leaders are born. I think some have the ability to walk into a room of 100 strangers and give a dynamic speech and win them over immediately with charisma and motivation. And I think there's a lot of leaders that are like that are naturals. I'm not a natural leader. I think I have all the skills, and I think when people think about leaders, they often think about those charismatic, natural leaders. But I think there are as many leaders, maybe even more so, that are maybe a little more soft-spoken, a little more deliberate, don't have the traditional leadership qualities, but that are still successful. And I think I picked up a lot of what I need along the way in order to become a leader.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.